What is up, everyone? Another week in review, of course, here at the warehouse where I practically live nowadays. And man, we've been working nonstop. I say that every week because we have been. We'll get to a point to where we will be doing videos and streaming again, but I'm not going to do that until every item that is in this campaign, all the stragglers, we have like 2,000, a little under 2,000 as of today, stragglers that we're kind of going in and making sure those orders are correct. If there's mistakes, they're corrected, and we get these items shipped out. So we're working daily. That hasn't changed, and that won't change. But until we actually get everything submitted, I'm not going to be streaming or doing anything like that. So I do this occasional video and such, but we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. As I say, we just have some stragglers that we have to pick up. I'm still getting over my sickness, so I'm coughing and stuff. My apologies. Nonetheless, thanks for the support. Still reviews and all sorts of stuff coming out. I'm on ISOM too. I appreciate you, man. We have so much in the works, books simultaneously still while we're shipping being worked on. I am I can't remember, was it 63 or so pages in as far as writing on ISOM. We have about pencil and ink, I think 58, something like that. So we're scooting along for ISOM 2. We also have two other books that are in the works. One that we started pencil and ink for. We're about probably 15 pages of pencils on that, 15 to 20 pages of pencils and about 10 pages of ink. So we haven't started colors yet to my knowledge. I'll be able to pay a little more attention to detail as that's coming along. And we have another that is being wrote right now that is almost done being wrote. We'll figure out the artwork team on that. I'm actually starting today. We are getting the cover started for ISOM 2. So we're rocking and rolling. I'd love to get you guys kind of I won't say a release schedule. That's not really in our capacity to do right now until we nail down some other things. But general timeline of some sort I'd like to do for you all, and we'll see what happens with that. So thank you for the support. But today, a couple of things I want to talk about, not too much, but the main thing I want to certainly go through is this. Mainly because it shows or highlights really everything that I've been talking about day to day, even as it pertains to my company, and how outrage is often generated and faked in terms of just because you get a lot of backlash, maybe from the weirdos or blue check mark social media accounts and all that, does not mean that people reject your project, does not mean people reject that project. In fact, it can mean the complete opposite. There's a lot of manufacturer stuff going on, certainly with the internet. And right here, Twitter, of course, is in the news. Let me go to here right now. Twitter's in the news because, of course, it's, transfer of ownership. Let's call it that. We know the big layoffs that happened. I know you got some people saying, oh, he's begging everybody to come back. No, there's like a couple of people that they said was fired out of mistake, but still the vast majority of those guys that were laid off are no longer working with that company. Elon kind of talked about that, man, we got to make money. We know that the new $8, as it says, with the blue check marks. I'm actually intrigued by that. I have a blue check mark, didn't pay for it, but would be willing to pay $8 for Twitter Blue if it comes with the verification. Definitely if it means, because I know that Elon had mentioned not too long ago that they actually think that they could beat the 55% or so that I know YouTube gives its creators as it pertains to the revenue share. But in order to beat that, you have to obviously bring in some money. We know Twitter had been operating at a loss for a little bit there, and they certainly have not necessarily been efficient with how they use their money. So if it means more money in their pocket, a little $8, people are gonna spend that on whatever applications that they use. I don't even watch TV, so all those applications I don't use anyway. So it could be worth it for me. Probably won't be worth it for a lot of you guys, but certainly for me, it would be worth it for the features. Definitely, if it means, I know he talked about video capabilities and stuff. So if it means getting my work out there, definitely, if there's gonna be some sort of revenue shares for its creators, then yeah, I think that would be a good look. Nonetheless, because of that, and just because of where it's not about where Elon is at politically, they don't actually know that. Actually, he's probably more aligned with a lot of these leftists than they actually would like to think. Excuse me. But with that being said, it's they think of him, he's a new boogeyman, let's call him that, okay? And because he's a new boogeyman, they're going to focus in on them, and they look at it like, well, he's not one of us, and there's going to be these changes to the platform that they don't even know of, but just because it's not going to be of old, they are upset and outraged. And we've seen many blue check marks threaten to leave Twitter, but as indicated by the data, as Elon showed here, which is what you're looking at now, it's actually at an all-time high. So it's almost as if all of these weird guys who sit up here and yell and gripe and be mad and pretend like they have some sort of pull don't actually have that. Look, man, this is a point that I've been making to you all for the very long time. This old way of kind of seeing things, I think folks know or should know by now that a lot of it's, like I said earlier, manufactured. And what I mean by that is that it's smoke and it's a lot of mirrors. Yeah. Not just with algorithms and all that. It's just that when you look at, let's say, something that even exists on the type of people that were previously on Twitter, certain type of demographic, that doesn't necessarily represent the real world or the world at large. So just because someone gets a whole bunch of retweets, it's not mean, for one, that it's honest, but it certainly doesn't mean that that's indicative of, let's say, the majority of people. Okay. And I say this from experience, not, well, I mean, most of the praise that we had got was obviously positive, but of course we had our hate campaigns with ISOM and the Riververse and stuff, but what did that amount to? Nothing. We still made $3.7 million and nobody cares what they think. You know, it doesn't matter. They can sit up here and delegitimize everything it is that I wrote. CBR writers hating on us, all that sort of stuff. Who cares? Doesn't even matter, because at the end of the day, it got out there to the people that were potential buyers, and the ones that wanted to make the investment or the purchase, they purchased it. And I thank everybody for that and all those guys, but let Reddit tell it. Let these weirdos tell her, well, nobody was going to ever be in it because of a guy's not a raging leftist and therefore it's rejected by the mainstream. All that's fake. And there's another example of it. So what, you leave? So if you threaten to leave, though most of them aren't going to leave anyway, doesn't matter. They don't have as much power as they'd like to think that they do, and they certainly don't now because of the transfer of ownership. But I would say take that in whatever it is you do. That's not to say that backlash or feedback can't be useful if it comes from said place. It absolutely can be, and sometimes it's just a way to communicate with your audience. But others, it's useless information. It's distorted. It's not really honest. And from algorithm on up and down, though not just that, you can see that it's not geared towards giving it to you straight. The push of a button, whoever's behind the scenes can make you see some things that you don't want to see. And that's just what it is. So with that being said, you have to take everything with a grain of salt. There's truth in it. There's going to be falsehoods in it. And as a individual, you have to be able to decipher that. And it's very critical that you do that with whatever it is that you do, because if you do not, you can get yourself tricked into believing that something is not what it is, or something is what it isn't. So Twitter's the latest example of this. I'm interested to see what happens with this platform, where it's going to go, and what's going to happen. Mainly, are we going to have Twitter become a competitor in other spaces? That's where the money's at. The video and all that stuff, that's certainly where the money's at. Not saying turn it into a flat, like, I don't know, video program to be competing with YouTube or TikTok or the likes, but can it become something that's useful, certainly for individual creators, to make a little change and get their stuff out to their audience? Absolutely, it could, and we'll see how they change the platform to assist in that. There's got to be more algorithmic changes, I know, that are going to be coming with, certainly with Twitter Blue or whatever they're going to call it, with the preferential treatment and all that sort of stuff of people that verify themselves, which I know some people don't agree with that. I do, because whether you like it or not, those are the people that drive the content and the engagement on any site for that matter. That's not to say that there aren't people that are, let's say, that don't drive traffic or don't have something to offer that is useful. No, what I'm saying is even on Twitter now and before, it really is the same, in which that people are talking about folks that are, identifiable. Let's say that. And that's where the engagement is, and that's what's driving the traffic. So for people that do decide to verify themselves and, be it as a person or individual business, whatever, and them having some sort of placement, that makes all the sense, certainly in the world. But with that being said, the moderation side of it needs to be left in the hands of, in my honest opinion, of the person, like of the individual, right? So giving them the tools, even if you are amplifying those tools with Twitter Blue, that's what it's about. Not moderation necessarily coming from you have your base moderation, which I told y'all that Elon never planned to make this like a just absolute wild, wild west kind of situation. That was never what this platform was going to be. Could it be more freer per se than what it was before? Potentially. But was it going to be an absolute free for all where you can like be Twitter of old, where you can say whatever the hell you wanted to and you wouldn't risk getting banned or something like that? That's not what the platform was ever going to be. But could it be a situation where the moderation tools are more so in the hands of the individuals that are using them, anonymous or not? That seems to make more sense and make really everybody happy, except for leftists maybe, who have been getting more preferential treatment than anybody. Which is why they're mad at the whole blue check mark. It's not that well, you can pay $8 or you have to pay $8. No. It's about the fact that some of those guys did pay to get theirs, and they don't like the fact that not everybody's going to have access to this. So it's going to be less of a peasant versus the royalist sort of situation. It's going to be more of the, like I had worded it, the Annans v verified. It's more so what it's going to be, and that's going to be across so many different economic and political, let's say, spectrums in terms of who's going to be more or less likely to do that. And obviously with Twitter Blue is going to come as a round of like preferential treatment. Nonetheless, put the moderation in their hands. And because of that, because you're going to leave it to everybody, you see they've already made some changes in terms of moderation, like what they won't tolerate, which again, something I'm not against, is people that if you don't make it very and abundantly clear that you are like a parody or something like that, you can't just be getting blue check marks and then trying to turn yourself into like someone else and then mimicking them or pretending that you are them. That's like, so the whole identity theft or whatever you want to call it, you can't do that, and that will no longer be tolerated, which makes sense considering the direction of the platform. So with that being said, whatever, put the moderation in our hands. Let people, like, for example, right now, I hate this about Twitter, always have. You see this bull crap right here. What's happening? This needs to be removed, or it needs to be completely changeable. Right now, this whole what's happening thing on the right on Twitter, as it's always been, this has not been changed. It has subjects where you can't change. So what it is it's news that you may be completely disinterested in. Often it's biased, but you may be completely disinterested in. Today is the election. Tomorrow it might be, something that happened in the news or some celebrity or some bull crap. I don't care about that. With these right here, like ditch Twitter, ironically, is trending as we're talking about this. I could say this, not interested, bam, it's gone. Awesome. But I can't do this with these two right here. And that's what I don't like. And that needs to change. Again, give the moderation tools to the individual, and then we have far less gripes. Now, those that want to be the beacon of information, where they feel like it's not only legitimate if it comes from us, they're going to play that disinformation card if that moderation is left up into the individuals. But that's how it should be anyway. It's on the individuals to decipher, because you feed us a bunch of bullcrap anyway. But it's on the individuals to decipher and kind of comb through all that and figure out what is real, what is not, what's honest, what's not, and all that. Leave the moderation into the hands of the individual and let them see what it is that they want to see. That to me is how you maximize this platform. Last thing though, I want to talk about, obviously going into the election. Y'all know my position on this. I think you're much more suited in taking a dump in the voter booth. That'll be far more effective, and you actually get something out of it because you will have relieved yourself. I don't know if that's illegal or whatever, but to me, that's far more useful than whatever you're participating in. But there was a story that came out earlier, I think right before my last video. I can't remember. something like that we can review. And I had never touched on it. A lot of my page growth actually was attributed to me talking about the whole, whichever you want to call it, pandemic. Now, I was ahead of this. This ain't to brag or pat myself on the back. You can go look at all of my old videos dating back to March 2020. And I was ahead of this. I talked about the sham of it all and all that. And now the people that have really ruined the lives of a lot of folks and made people miserable over the past, I think this is I guess why I'm so irritated is that a lot of the people that perpetuated this evil bullcrap from the medical industry on up and down, and what they did over the last couple of years, they're going to get away with it. And right here, you have someone that writes with the Atlantic who this Emily Oster herself, I believe if you look at her tweets, you can find her demonizing people or thinking that there should be pressure put by way of the public on the unvaccinated and all that sort of stuff. So now they're expecting amnesty and basically, hey, forget about it. Let's focus on the future. And what they're talking about is some of the outrageous things that they were doing. But there's like, hey, we didn't know, as she says right now, a cloth mask made out of old bandanas wouldn't have done anything anyway. But the thing is, we didn't know. Now, remember, the between the mandates and forcing you to have diapers on your face and all that sort of stuff, never forget that's exactly what these guys did. They did this. They did all of that. You're talking about, oh, I'm reflecting on the lack of knowledge. When the information was out there, they're finally starting to concede regarding the jabs. You had, for example, that came out not too long ago, one of the major companies that basically produced the jab was talking about how they really didn't even test the idea of it not being able to, or you getting it and not spreading it, which we knew that was, I talked about that earlier on, that there's nothing, even though that was what they used or what they tried to appeal to, is more accurately putting, they tried to appeal to that to get this emergency authorization. Specifically, it was backed upon the idea that, well, if you got it, you couldn't spread it. And that turned out to be a falsehood, right? That was simply not true. And then you find out recently that they never really actually effectively tested for that, right? And so these people that told you that lie, and then, you know, Dr. Rochelle Walensky then came out after the fact saying, well, what we know now is that it doesn't, even though she initially said that people that get it don't catch it, don't get sick, yada, yada, we found out that was not true. And then she kind of went back on, not kind of, she explicitly went back certainly on it. All that happened, and all of these criminals from Fauci on up and down are going to get away with their crimes, right? And now the folks that, because their handlers have now conceded, because it's after the fact and they got away with it, their handlers are now conceding that, well, all is good, right? Even though we screwed up, it's all good. So now it's safe for them to say that, okay, well, some of these things they said was one thing, wasn't. And that's fine, because it's okay for them to say it. Now they're saying it, and now they're expecting the amnesty. Y'all on y'all own with that. If y'all want to forgive these weirdos for that because you think they were acting in good intentions, I disagree. I think these are evil people. And if you are one of those chicken shits, from especially fellow musicians who went to bat for these big pharma and all that, shilling for them, demonizing people that weren't unvaccinated, even for the concerts and stuff that you were housing, you guys are all fucking losers. And we should not forget that you were exactly that. All these chicken shits who go around every freaking election cycle, they're doing it right now, as today is the election day, and they're going to tell you who to vote for, who to not vote for, and all this other bull crap, certainly. And they're going to pretend, hey, fight the powers that be, fist in the air. And we saw all of them, all these guys for the most part were frauds, including your favorite anti-authoritarian musician was a chicken shit. And you found that out. If you didn't find it out in 2016 during the whole Trump phenomena, you certainly found out about it now. Or with COVID and where these guys actually were, what they were absolutely, it's all about them more so having the power to dictate what's righteous and what's just, as opposed to actually fighting some sort of establishment with some sort of monopolized power. That was not ever what they were ever against. And all of them are evil. Some of the most evil crap that I've seen take place in my lifetime took place there when you had large swaths, millions upon millions of people that were sold a lie, and they sent you and they turned you on your own fellow citizenry, the government and the state and its doctors and its medical experts and all that, and y'all did exactly that. And you mean to tell me that some of y'all want amnesty or want us to just forget that y'all actually did that? No, you were all evil pieces of shit, literal pieces of shit, because you were running off of a lie. You claimed that it was true, and really all that you had to prove that it was true was some expert talking head that was telling you that. They in their own data, which we used to go through. Y'all remember what we used to go with COVID? Even through their own data, they weren't proving any of this stuff. But you made it seem like they were. You were so willing to demonize your people that were next to you. Y'all don't deserve anything. Now talk about Fauci deserving to be under the, not in the prison, under the prison. Because of all these things that these guys did and what they perpetuated, people not being able to see their loved ones that were passing, elderly loved ones, people having their businesses destroyed, livelihoods destroyed off of that. And then you go back to here, and after all that, your politicians like Hillary Clinton is thanking Joe Biden for some job growth, when the job growth is only the equivalent of people being allowed to go back to work and not be criminalized because of it. That's your job growth. Do what you will. Like I do this every election cycle. Like I'm not, again, because where I'm at with it, y'all know libertarian and our capitalists, I'm probably on the opposite end of where y'all at with this whole voting thing. All I ask is that you act accordingly. That's it. Don't pretend like this didn't happen. At the end of the day, it feels good to talk about stuff like this certainly again, and we'll get back to doing that. Nonetheless, I want to thank every single one of you guys. Another weekend review. Got a lot of work to do. As soon as this video ends, I'm going to go back to packing orders and the like. So thank you all so much for the support. We'll see you soon, certainly soon enough.